Hello Wadaus, welcome to another week of Mind Matters. Now leo I have a very interesting topic to talk about. This is basically about academics and things that relates to masomo. So basically this is about watu wa books. So do you remember those days when you used to be like, hey man, education is the key to life, education is the key to success. And there are these guys, I saw a meme and the guys were like, I regret ever debating that education is more better than money, because it's gotten to a time where people are like, hey, it's all about the money, and the education is something that just people take it for granted and all that. And so for us today in this studio, we just want to talk about what is it about education, academics, the pressure that comes with that. And we all know that this pressure comes from so many sources, parents, our friends, our own goals and everything. And because these has to do with how we behave, how our minds are. It's a worth topic to talk about. And this is a special episode because today in the studio, I have a friend, a longtime friend. We met in the circumstances of masomo. So guys, I know you guys don't know my friends, but today you have to know this one. We once met somewhere tukijaribu kutafuta hii key to success, the education one. And so with me today, I've been joined with one and the only friend, anaitwa Robinson Wanjala.
Robinson.
I know this is a common face to the country, but today basically we want to focus on matters academics and everything. So I would really love you introduce yourself to the audience, so that you also let them know who you are, what you're doing currently. Now, at least give us a brief history of yourself. Karibu sana.
Asante. Thanks Watetu. My name is Robin Wanjala Simiyu. Basically, I'm a third year student of medicine at the University of Nairobi. And we met with Watetu in the same high school. And practically the first time we met, I'd actually lost my blankets. I was in Form 1. And he was the school captain then.
You didn't have to mention.
I had to chome kidogo.
Oh, yes.
But basically I'm happy to be here. And today we talk about academics.
Yes.
And I can't wait.
So Robinson, to you, what does academics actually really mean? You know, for me, mimi ni wale wenye tuliambiwa tusome, tutakuwa successful. So I'm trying to pursue this. I'm actually waiting eagerly nimalize shule in the next 2 months, and then I get to see where does this gets to take me. So to you, what is it all about academics? Is this something that you cherish so much? Do you feel like all your life is chained to this? What would you define that briefly?
I think academics is more about the formal education.
Yes.
Basically, the formal education system, the one that you get in right from class 1, you get to high school, you get to campus.
Yes.
And while it's really important, and I agree it is, I'd also not say it's basically the only way to success. But I think one thing that I always say is, if you have an opportunity, you had better use it.
Sure.
Because basically, Watetu, there is someone who wanted to be in campus and he's not here right now.
Sure.
So basically, if you have an opportunity to engage in academics, you should give your best. But of course, if you don't have the opportunity, it's not the only avenue to success.
Sure, wait. You just mentioned that it is one of the key. Are you trying to tell me that all this life, all this while, I mean, if I knew there were many keys, I wouldn't be pursuing this one. This one actually made me go through sleepless nights. This one made me through a crazy 4 years in high school. This one made me go through, the University of Nairobi, trying to be something. You get?
Yeah.
Of course, there are so many other keys, but do you think academic has a way that it plays in all other areas? Does it have its significance?
Yeah, I would say academics has a lot of significance, because basically, even if you are, let's say you're a footballer, and I think you are actually.
Yeah, I used to play sometimes back before I
yes. I've had most people say, and I think I've seen it happen, that basically when you are educated, you're even able to manage the other avenues better.
Sure.
You're basically able, even if you're a sportsman, you're basically able to manage your finances better. You're able to make better decisions.
Sure.
So I think academics is not just limited to probably the certificate, probably the degree. I think it's about changing the way a person thinks.
Sure.
So even if you succeed in other areas, let's say you're talented in something,
Sure.
basically once you are learned, it somehow changes your thinking. Like you're able to be a person who makes rational decisions, like you think better actually.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe just a question to you, Robinson. You some 2 years back, you became a national top student in the country.
Yeah.
What do you think about someone else who felt like this was not really their path, and their parents are really putting them in that space of you have to really pursue this? Like I felt, I've always wanted to ask you this question. Like, did you do something extraordinary, supernatural to get there, or did you just go through? Because I mean, we went through the same school.
Yeah, that's
I believe I worked hard. I mean, come on.
Yes.
So I can't tell how that difference becomes so huge. And I also know the guys we went through the same school, and there's always that huge difference between maybe the first student, the last student.
Yes.
Do you believe like there's we are all the same when it comes to our abilities in school, and that it's about hard work, or it's just something that, I mean, I don't understand all that?
Actually, I think we are all able differently.
Sure.
Because probably much as I was able to read and pass, I'm not able to probably play some instruments as good as another person.
Sure.
I'm not able to be an athlete.
Sure.
I can't run a marathon. Basically, I think the best I can do is 400 meters.
Sure.
And I'll still be number last anyway. So I think...
but you can run in books.
I can run in books, yes.
Yeah, sure.
But basically, it's not easy. And I think the pressure that normally comes with being in school is that I think it's actually born out of good intentions, because your parents or guardians are like, you have this opportunity. I'm paying a lot of school fees for you. I need to make sure that you give your best. Actually, I need to actually see you try. Like, before I know you can't do it, you have to try.
Sure.
You see, there's no way you can say you can't do something if you've not tried it.
Sure.
So I think the pressure comes from that, but we can also take it negatively ourselves, because you might find someone is basically just uninterested, honestly, probably in academics, but the person is actually good at something else. So,
I get the point. So I've always had this thought, I don't know if it's right, that we go through these systems to get information. Like really, it's not about how well I was either number 1 or 2 or 3. Like if I'm able to scoop a certain information that becomes important to me, then that beats now the purpose. Like I was able to go through a system, and then I got this information. For example, I'm a media student, and I believe in, if I can really be good in communication skills, if I can be good in things that pertains to media, then I have achieved. Having in mind that now our academic system unfortunately puts us in a space where we all have to perform within the same subject. Like I have to be as good in mathematics as you. I have to be as good in physics as you. I have to be as good in other subjects that I might maybe be struggling in. So there's always this pressure of then trying to compete within this number of subjects that have been provided, and definitely this has brought a lot of mental crisis and all issues in the students. That's why we are here today, just to expound on it. Do you think that academic is actually something that destabilizes how people think, how their mental state is? And if maybe you can give examples, we'll really appreciate.
Okay, so I think most would agree with me that actually the education system in Kenya right now, it's a bit flawed. It's not perfect. And I think that's the reason why they're shifting to competency. About a week ago, I was at Pan-African University. And here in Thika Road. And basically, they were launching an institute. It's basically like a TVET. And the person who was talking about, we can educate you, George, on how to make a stool. And you can get good A's practically by just outlining the steps and coming up with a very good essay. But what about when you take you to the workshop and we ask you, okay, now here we are, here are the tools, here are the materials. Let's make the stool. Can you do that? So I think probably our education system, part of its flaws is that it has probably caused us to be limited. It's basically limiting our ability to think and
Yes.
As you said, it's about acquiring a skill. It's not so much about the A's. A's are good, get
Sure.
the A's.
Yes.
But you're also supposed to actually acquire skills that will be impactful in society. So I think we should not be ignorant about that fact.
Sure.
Yes.
So you're saying that it's all about having an ability to solve a practical problem in the society, so that if I'm good in things that pertains technical things, then I should be able to do something that basically solves a problem, rather than having information inside of you, but then that information cannot be transformed into doing something physically. So let's actually take a divert a little bit in this conversation and just talk about academics being something that brings pressure on the mind of a student. And that now that the parents are here, all of them pointing at you and they're saying, I mean, we are paying 80,000, we are paying 100,000, we are paying 200,000 for you to be in that institution for a period of time. I mean, you have no choice. The only thing you need to do is to perform. And some will even go ahead and tell you that we do not demand anything else from you. We only need you to perform. Some of these students who have been actually put in that pressure are good in football, some are good in athletics, some are good in other things that really, aside getting this education and just being informed and everything. So do you think that pressure has an effect on how then our state of the mind is?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure from our parents because basically, if you look at our parents or guardians, their age and probably how they've grown up during their time, basically it was, get to school, succeed, become a doctor, become an engineer, become a pilot, etc. But today you find that there's actually many, many more ways to be successful. Yes. But our parents simply do not think so. And it's actually difficult to convince them. Sure. Because you can agree with me, George, if you sat with probably someone who's in their 60s, and this is someone who's struggling to pay school fees for their son, who's probably in the school of medicine, and you're telling that person, your son is not interested in this, why don't you support him and help him probably make music? Sure. It will be a very difficult conversation, by the way. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of pressure that comes from our parents or guardians. There's a lot of pressure that comes even from our peers, because probably if you are, for example, personally I'm doing medicine. Yes. If I were to shift and probably do music, probably I would feel like there's a lot of pressure from my peers, because I would feel like, okay, probably I've just stepped out of the path of success. And basically I don't know what I'm doing. Sure. And I think that's what our parents see when they look at kids trying to now to chant their own path. Sure. They relate like any diversion from the path of academics. Yeah. You're getting lost. Exactly. You're getting lost into another world. Yes. And I think that is quite interesting, because I remember when I started my schooling life, there's this pressure that everybody in my society was like, at least now one of a kid from a certain place is embrace this education, so that makes him to be successful. So they had an assumption that in one way or another, whether I like it or not, one day I'll be successful because I'm actually in school. Yeah. But we are in this country, and I think we can look at things around and see that there are so many graduates, guys who did nice and wonderful degrees. They have the documents with themselves. They actually passed well. I know I have a friend who got actually first class honors. You go looking for a job somewhere and the company is like, you're too smart, man. Why don't you pursue PhD, masters? And you're just like, I mean, you guys, I need a job. I don't want to move on with further studies. There's always that pressure. So for me, the question that maybe I want to ask you at this point is, do you think it's automatic that if I went through the education system successfully from the beginning to the end, that I'm guaranteed to be successful? I think honestly, what are the chances? If you were to ask me this question, probably 25 years ago, I wasn't born. Wait, but 25 years ago you were not born? I was actually worried. I wasn't born 25 years ago. Oh yes. But actually, if you were to ask me this question 25 years ago, the answer will be a resounding yes. Probably. But right now, with how things are, I think I can say, I don't even think I can put the chances at 50-50. Yes. probably, okay, let me put it at 50-50.
Yes.
But
you're still doubting.
Yeah, I'm
50.
still doubting. Because honestly,
things are bad on the ground.
Things are bad because, it was so interesting to me
Sure.
that you can actually pursue a degree.
Yes.
You can do your master's. You can even go for a PhD. And once you're done, when you go to compete for a job, probably someone who has only a degree,
Sure.
they'll prefer the person with a degree over you simply because
Sure.
you're overqualified and you'll demand more.
Sure.
That was when I first realized that, I was like, wait, so basically I can put myself through all these years of school, all of that hard work, all of that sacrifice.
Sure.
And then basically when I go seeking for employment, I won't get it because probably they think that I'll ask for more money.
Yeah.
So I think today it's a very big issue. The fact that you are learned and the fact that you've been through school and you're a graduate, it doesn't guarantee you a job. It doesn't guarantee you an opportunity. So I think we have to be a bit more flexible.
Sure.
Yeah, we should be a bit more flexible because you can find that we have graduates, George, who are out there who are probably as in they're just doing the casual jobs and they're graduates and they're really frustrated by that. It's quite frustrating.
Yes.
And it's even more frustrating to us who are in school because you're like, okay, so what's my fate 5 years from now?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I think as
It's
of
like they're
today,
projecting where we shall be.
Exactly.
And we are not yet there, but they are projecting it so loud.
Exactly. So I think we just have to be flexible. And probably we just have to try to think outside the box, basically. You're not limited to the career that you probably pursued in campus.
Yes.
So probably if I finish school, for instance, and become a doctor and there's no job as a doctor, and there's another opportunity that I find and basically I'm able to do that thing to fill that market gap, I'll go for it.
Sure.
Yes.
And I think 2 months ago, there was this video that went viral of a student from MKU who was actually banning all his academic documents. And the claim was that they cannot help him anywhere. You can imagine that's the level of frustration we've actually gotten as a country where you have put it all, you've worked so hard, and unfortunately, it doesn't, a while back, it will be that if you really didn't do well, then even when it gets to job market, you also don't get to be picked the first one. But with the way things look like, it's no longer really about how well I performed, because I know guys who actually got first class honors, second upper. I mean, they did well in school. But the thing is that there are no jobs. Actually, unemployment, if you are to do your stats well, you'll realize that majority of the young people who are not employed, they are not illiterate. They're actually very literate. These are people who have gone through a system. And now that brings us to the whole issue of mental health. Like lots of depression out here. There's lots of giving up. There's lots of blaming up on the system and everything. And now a new system is even here, and we are praying that this system will actually be better than the one we went through. But so what is the state that the students are in? In the university, there is always this space where students go through. There's always a semester that comprises of probably 4 months, and in these 4 months, there's this content that you're supposed to grasp within 4 months. But the students, due to the whole difficulty things with life and stuff, they end up doing other things in life. And then tunafika kwa hii wiki, they call it wiki ya kuokoa sem. So this is the week that students don't sleep. This is the week that guys give it all. And as you can agree with me, is that burdens the brain, because what it was supposed to grasp in 4 months, it's supposed to grasp within a night. Do you think that has an effect on our mental health status?
Yeah, I think mental health is I think it's a big challenge, honestly, in campus. And just like you've said, the Kuokoa semester thing,
yes,
I think it's and actually the funny thing is that we don't even realize how we get there.
Sure.
Because basically we get to probably the beginning of the semester,
yes,
and we're like, this semester it will be different. I've seen memes, next sem, it will just be the library and the CU.
Yes.
And I'm done, and it's practically that. But when you actually get there, you're like, as in, we get so absorbed into so many other things.
Sure.
Such that we realize we have 3 days, or we probably even have just a night to the exam, and you're like, if I don't get this information, if I don't pass this exam, I have a supplementary.
Sure.
And that's just a whole other issue in itself.
Sure.
So I think that's a very big issue, that basically it's like you just check your mental health.
Sure.
And you're like, you know what, I'll leave you here. We'll meet again after the exam.
We meet soon.
Yeah, we meet soon. Because, and honestly, I can't say I've not done that. Actually, I have.
Oh, you have done that?
Yes.
We are few. Apparently, it turns out it's almost everybody who is in this.
Yeah, because you're like, you have to get this right.
Yeah.
Like, you have to get it right. So basically, I think it's a very big issue. And as much as we know what you're supposed to do, clearly we know you're supposed to study from when the semester begins up to the time of the exam, but we just don't do it. Or probably we are into so many other things, and well, that just spells disaster for our mental health.
Yeah, sure.
And just like you've said, even in the outside world, now mental health is an issue because people are frustrated.
Sure.
Because this is someone who has graduated, who has worked. This is someone who has probably been sustaining himself or herself in school.
Sure.
Doing all the odd jobs, trying to survive.
Sure.
And finally, when they get that degree, they simply can't find a job.
Sure.
There's a time that, I think it's some time back, that there's a security company. I don't remember if it's Securex. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Sure.
But they actually advertised for jobs, and so many people turned up. And actually, a big number were actually graduates.
Sure.
And that just shows the amount of frustration that is out there.
Sure.
And even in the KDF recruitment, like I could actually hear in the news and watch some people are really frustrated. They're like, okay, I studied, I've been trying this recruitment for 5 years unsuccessfully.
Yes.
So I think mental health is really on the edge, whether you're in school or you're not in school. And even the economy, basically, as in mental health is basically being attacked from all angles.
Oh, yes. And now that we are almost wrapping up on this conversation, just to maybe ask you, what will be your advice, your genuine advice, now that we realize that this life is our own, the academic thing is here to stay, and we might not really change so much within a short time. Now that at the very end, we have us. I have always discovered, whether I do an exam or not, in the very end of the day, I always have myself. Like, whether I will play around with my mental health, in the very end of the day, this is something that sticks with me. So what will be your advice to generally young people as they pursue academics? Like, generally, how should they view life?
I think as we pursue our academics, you're supposed to be a bit more keen on mental health.
Sure.
Just like you've said, whether you take care of your mental health or not, at the end you have you.
Sure.
It's just something that probably you're postponing, but you'll have to face yourself.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because at the end you only have you.
Cool.
So I think we should really prioritize our mental health and realize that as much as we are working and we have all that pressure to, get good grades, to succeed, get the skills and all that, we should also realize that it's okay if it doesn't happen that way.
Sure.
And basically, we have hope.
Sure.
Yeah, we always have hope for tomorrow because each day that you wake up alive is basically an opportunity. I think it was yesterday that I was just thinking to myself, like, each and every day when we wake up, we have a whole new fresh page to write. And I think we start ruining it with our choices every day. From when you snooze your alarm,
yes,
that's the first choice you make. Like, each day God gives you a brand new day with new opportunities.
Sure.
It is not stained with anything from yesterday or yesternight.
Sure.
But we start ruining it ourselves. So I think at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, okay, how many choices have I made that have ruined this day?
Yes.
Because right from when you snooze your alarm, probably I saw something written somewhere that when I open my eyes at 7 a.m. and I'm like, I can't wait to sleep again.
Sure.
And basically, you're just saying that you've given up on the day.
Sure.
So I think we should make mental health a primary focus for us And I think we should also strive to make right choices.
Sure.
And of course, we are not alone in this. We have our Lord and Savior,
Sure.
Jesus Christ. So whenever you're burdened by something,
Sure.
we just take it to Him. I mean, it's really that simple.
Sure.
His word literally says that, come to me, all of you who are heavy burdened.
Sure.
Sindio?
Yes.
So basically, I think we should just make mental health a focus.
Sure.
We should strive to make correct and right decisions.
Sure.
And we should know we are not alone.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That is powerful. I think one thing that I have grasped today is that every day I wake up, I have a new page.
Yes.
Nothing is written in that new page, and I start tuning it when I start making wrong decisions. So I think from today, I also want to be very careful and keen on what I get to write on that new page that I get to be given every new day. It's also important for me to just conclude by saying this, that the world is full of opportunities. There are so many people, so many things that guys are doing that ends up bringing success on their table. You can venture into agriculture, you can venture into business, you can venture into social media. I mean, these days there's so much going on around social media. You can create your own channel, you can create something that gets to advertise other things. I mean, there's so much that you can get into, so that you will not end up being frustrated and hopeless and feeling like everything has fallen apart. Let's cling on Jesus Christ. He's our hope and He's our Savior. He's the one who wakes us up every new day, because he knows that there's something good for us. There's a line that says, because He lives, I shall face tomorrow. So there's hope in Jesus Christ. Let's stick to that. Let's have hope. Let's take care of our mental state. Let's ensure that in the case where we feel like we are burdened, it's always wise to talk to someone else. Just engage yourself in a small community, talk to one another, share what you're feeling. And it's always very important to look around us. God has practically placed people who have been successful through believing in Him and just being people who can creatively think around, because God has given us everything that we need around ourselves. So do not close yourself in that book and feel like everything that you ever need or will ever need is within that book. So just get outside it, view life at a bigger angle, and you will see that everything is just right next to you. Thank you. Until next time. Shukran sana.